Welcome to Why COOs Should Prioritize Operational Efficiency over Growth, a panel discussion brought to you by the Operations Council. My name is Neil Brown, COO of the Operations Council. And before we get started, some brief housekeeping items. First, I'll introduce our partners and sponsors and our subject matter experts and presenters. Second, we'll have 4 polling questions for audience input and to benchmark your peers. Next, we'll have audience Q&A, so please use your control panel to ask a question, and we'll try to get us to as many as possible. And finally, links to this panel video archive will be available to all attendees via email in the next 24 hours, so no need for notes or screenshots. So it's my pleasure to introduce our partners and sponsors. Workiro is an award-winning intelligent document management system that combines email capture, e-signatures, seamless collaboration in one intuitive platform. Designed for businesses that work closely with customers and third parties, Workiro ensures that all interactions, approvals, and documents are automatically saved and classified, eliminating manual effort and reducing risk. GVO is a 20-year solution provider for NetSuite, providing support for companies looking to enhance and optimize their NetSuite environment and helping companies select and implement a new ERP to meet their business needs. And our subject matter experts, Andy Zinkel and Chris Muir. Andy is managing partner and ERP director at Go Virtual Office, or GVO, with 20 years of experience. Chris Muir is VP at Workiro with 25 years of experience in the tech industry. He started when he was 15, including startups to global enterprises. Chris and Andy, welcome.
Thank you, Neil.
And I'll let you take it away, gentlemen.
Thank you very much, and thank you to everyone for attending. We're looking forward to having a really interesting discussion around a subject that is one that we've been thinking about and talking about for a little while now through a couple of different sessions that we've done, and it felt like it needed to be called out on a session on its own. So initially, we're going to, in terms of an agenda, we're going to cover off just setting the stage on the subject, because there might be many people that would assume growth equals success, and we'll cover off why that might be a myth. We're going to look at some of the costs associated with unchecked growth and why prioritizing efficiency or operational efficiency is beneficial to businesses. We're going to look at this from a couple of different areas. So looking at cross-functional collaborations and the impact it has on people in an audience, people in a company is really important, but then also how that plays out when we think about the systems and the tools that are used in businesses, and Andy and I will have some conversations about how that can work before we look at a live demonstration of the Workiro product delivered by my colleague Dave, who we'll introduce a little bit later on. We'll then have some time for some Q&A towards the end, and hopefully further the discussion around that. So before we get started with all of that, we'll kick off with a poll. So I'll pass back to Neil to kind of introduce the poll and see what responses we get.
You got it. Okay, first poll, we want to know, what is your primary focus for your business right now? Select one of the following. All confidential, anonymous. Please take a few seconds to answer, benchmark your peers. And our subject matter experts will compare this to their own experience. So a few more seconds, please. And it looks like we got great voting here. So let's share our results. So number one, a balance of growth and efficiency, followed by that 67%, 18% prioritizing operational efficiency, and then 13% prioritizing growth. Gentlemen, what are your thoughts on these results?
Andy, I'll pass that to you initially.
Yeah, I guess I'm not overly surprised given the audience today. Given the topic of what we're going to discuss here, you really do want to try and balance both. Seeing those results don't really surprise me a whole lot. I think operational efficiency is obviously an important topic, and it makes sense that the audience here today is focused on that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it kind of highlights and emphasizes the reason why we're having this conversation, because there is clearly a need for that approach to be taken across businesses. So that's good to know. It looks like we're talking about the right subject, which is great. So if I kind of sort of move on to setting the stage and really thinking about why we do this, we're going to look at some key data from some studies that we've done at WorkHero with some agencies and some, as I said, some other activities and events that we've been involved in that really highlights why this is a key topic for many businesses as they look to grow clearly, because that's what many businesses want to do, but at the same time making sure that growth is sustainable. So we'll look at some real world examples of when focusing on growth has led to some challenges, and we'll look at the benefits of prioritizing operational efficiency to ensure that the growth that comes from that is for the long term, as well as looking at how we can ensure that the different aspects, as I mentioned, around people, processes, systems, etc., are kind of involved in that. So out of that, we're going to look at why growth can backfire, so understanding how scaling without optimizing can lead to inefficiency, higher cost, and frustrated teams. Why operational efficiency is powerful, and how we can focus on internal process improvements that can drive sustainable growth and profitability. How we can streamline cross-functional collaboration, so reducing silos and automating things like workflows, and why that enhances team productivity, customer success, customer service, customer satisfaction, and employee satisfaction as well, often in the cases of many companies. And we'll, as I said, we'll watch a live demonstration on how that seamless integration between, in this case, the WorkHero document management system and the NetSuite ERP solution really adds to that operational efficiency. And we'll kind of really touch on how we can understand and learn how access to centralized, accurate information improves decision making and reduces costly error. To start off with, and one of the key data points that we wanted to highlight, we conducted a survey with an organization called YouGov, talking to business leaders across a number of sectors, and asked them where their businesses were focusing, and 65% of those businesses that responded said they were prioritizing operational efficiency over growth, which really again emphasizes the point that we have here. But it really is a myth, or a common myth, that growth equals success. So Annie, I'm going to ask you a question when we get here. So in your dealings with the clients that you've dealt with over the 20 years that you've been working in this field, do you see a typical focus on growth? And if so, what challenges does that introduce?
Yeah, it's interesting. Many of our clients come to us because they're growing, right? And they're as part of that growth, they've identified that they either need help with their NetSuite account, or maybe they've realized they've outgrown something like QuickBooks or a legacy ERP or something to that effect. And whatever they're using to try and manage all of their growth is done in disparate systems, and they can't really effectively communicate well within the company about how things are going, what needs to be done, when, and in the end, service to their customers many times are suffering. And so the challenge that introduces is that they then have conflicting priorities, right? And I think we saw that with the poll, that the attendees today are trying and find balance between those, because it is a bit of a tug of war. They're trying to manage maybe transformation in their technology, or maybe just in their operational processes, but at the same time trying to run a business with a lot of demands that result from growth, and that can certainly be a challenge.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I have a couple of really good examples where I've seen this be quite a challenge. One actually in a company I worked for, a software company, who post-acquisition had a ton of investment put into the sales team with the view that would grow the company really quickly, would grow revenues and add to the bottom line of the business. And unfortunately, what was forgotten about was that, and this goes to the point about silos that we'll talk about later on, that the sales organization doesn't work independently of the rest of the business, and not scaling the other parts of the business and understanding the link between each of them, the processes and the systems, really hampered the activity or the efforts of that, and it ultimately led to an unhappy team, or unhappy teams, because there was a sales team that weren't getting the support they needed, and there were other teams in the business that were being pushed harder than they might otherwise have been, because they didn't have the resource or the processes or systems to back that up. And one more example that I think is really relevant in this instance, and for those of you who might not have gathered, I'm based in the UK. We had a fairly large construction company based in the UK who were involved in lots of projects for local government, and they were growing exceptionally fast because they were the kind of the favorite of those agencies that wanted to develop new properties for housing and offices in towns and cities across the UK. And they tried to manage that growth without really thinking about the systems they had in place in particular. So very quickly they started to lose control of understanding the project profitability for each of the projects, and that ultimately led to real cash flow issues and eventually the demise of the business. And if you go around some of those towns and cities in the UK now, you see projects that are still unfinished because of the outcome of that. So it can have a real impact on the people in the business itself, and actually others